Okay, we're back here at the Nuts and Bolts Sales Company, where they sell nuts, bolts, and screws. And they had a good day there for bolts, $12,000 in one day, which is pretty good. We're going to be looking at something called an Excel table, but I'm going to leave that a mystery for a second and just show you a couple of things that you can do with information. Our bosses at Nuts and Bolts have said that they are so fed up of having to look at what day of the week these sales occurred on that we better do something about it or we'll be in trouble. So we can do this quite easily. First of all, we have to make some room to put in the day of the week. So you just highlight this area and you can insert, and it actually comes up with the option to put an entire column in. Now, you may be a bit worried about the heading at the top being split up or something, but if you choose OK, you can see it adapts itself and everything stays fine. Now we can put in the word day here, and you can see it maintains the format of the other headings. Now, in order to put the day of the week in, we need the date, so we just make that cell equal the date. Not very helpful at the moment, but if we right click on it and go down to the format cells here, and then we go down to custom, we can replace the current format, which is month, day, year, year, so that's giving you that second of the second date there, and we can just put in D. That will return 2 because Monday is the second day of the week. 02 if you want a leading 0, so it puts you in no doubt about that number. Put in a third one and it gives you the short form, Monday, and put in a fourth one and it puts in the day. So we then just choose OK because we want to have the full name in because our bosses are a bit stupid and couldn't work out anything else, and we just pull down as per normal. All goes terribly wrong here, but as you all know now, that's not really gone terribly wrong. It's just the word, my guess is Wednesday, is way too long to fit in the space available. So we just go up to the top here, the gap between the two columns, and double click, and it auto fits Wednesday in there. Before we move on to the fabled Excel table, I just want to show you that you can actually manipulate this information in this data range quite easily. So if you highlight the whole area, including the headings here, and then we click on data, we can filter the data, which means that we can remove various bits of the information and just show other bits, or we can sort the data how we want it. So for example, if we wanted to put together all the nut sales and the bolt sales and the screw sales, we would click on sort. Instead of sorting by date as it is at the moment, this is clever enough to know that's a heading, we can go down to section and sort those values alphabetically ascending from A through Z. And if we click OK now, you can see that the dates have all been rearranged. Every row has moved around so that in alphabetical order we group them all together. Now, one of the great things we can now do with this range of data is we can come up and click on the subtotal. So if we click on subtotal, we can say we're going to subtotal sales at each change in section. We're using the sum function to total the sales. If I click OK now, so you see it's saying basically every time we get a new section, we put a subtotal in for that section of the sales. Because it's not clever enough to know where everything is, you have to give it some information here. So if I click OK now, you can see that it puts in the subtotals for each of the sections and a grand total at the end. Well, now for the fabled Excel table. I'm going to step back to where we were before we did anything apart from the sorting here. Now I'm going to go back and sort this by date again. Okay, so there we have the table as it was originally. Now what we can do is to change this to something called an Excel table. And you'll see what happens. Basically, you go to the Insert tab and Table. And what that does is immediately highlight what it thinks is the table. And it puts the range in there. Now, if it got it wrong, for example, if it had gone and highlighted that square, which you probably never ever would, we can just go and highlight the table that we want. And my table has headers, refers to the headings here, because it needs to treat those differently from the rest of the information in the table, what will be the table. Remember, this is just still a range of information, but it's going to now, as soon as I click OK, turn it into an Excel table. And a couple of things have happened. If I click out a bit, it's gone and got itself styled in alternating bands of blue and white, so that you can see the information in each record very clearly. And it's gone and acquired these drop-down arrows. Now, the great thing about these is that you can go and pull them down, and you can sort oldest to newest, newest to oldest. So if I do that, the whole thing will rearrange itself and go in the opposite direction. We can go back again, so oldest to newest. We can go and change it so it does it in days, alphabetical, or oldest to newest, sorry. Sections, we can sort A to Z, and it does the same as we were doing before, before we made it a table, but it's quite it's a little bit more powerful and easier to use. And then we can just, according to sales, from the largest to the smallest. So we can now see that that particular day of the week was on Wednesday was a very good day for bolts, and now it's at the top. So it's all very nice. We can also, if we come up here, we can see that we've got the context-sensitive help. So there are various things that we can put in here. So we can put in a total row. If we just click on the total row, it automatically calculates a total for the entire table and puts in formatting so that it looks very nice. Other things that you can do is you can filter. So if we pull out the section, if we only wanted to see nuts, for example, we say OK, and only the nuts appear. Now, if you have a look at the rows here, what's happened is that it's actually hidden the rows, because it goes from 5, 6, 7, 12, 17. So all it's done when you've filtered here, and it shows you a little filter that means that you've done it, that you've actually filtered something. All it's done is hidden the rows, so you can bring them back again very easily like that. One of the problems with the Excel table, powerful and wonderful though it is that you can't put subtotals in. So what you have to do is you have to do the ordering that you want. So let's say that we do want it in alphabetical order, bolts, nuts, screws, okay, and then we have to convert it to a range. Okay, so this area here under design, this will return us back to having a range of information and not an Excel table. So I'll click that now. I'll click yes, and you'll notice that actually what it does is it still keeps the formatting that we've selected, but we've lost the drop down arrow, so we can't do anything with this now. So we can highlight the information. All we have to do is to go back to where we were, and we can insert on the data tab here, insert a subtotal, as we've done before, based on sales. Each change in section, it remembers that from last time, we sum the sales, and we just click OK. Okay, and there we have it. It's gone and put that information in for us. So what we achieved there is that by converting it to the Excel table, it styled it for us, which we could have done anyway. It allows us to filter on dates and days and sections and sales, which again we could have done anyway, but it made it a lot easier. But we had to convert it back into a range in order to put in the subtotals. And now we need to do a couple more things with this. I just wanted to show you the outliner as well. Once you put in the subtotals, you can see that these numbers appear at the side. And what you can use these for is that if you click on just the 1, it will show only the grand total. 2 shows only the subtotals. 3 shows the whole information. And again, have a look at the line numbers, the row numbers. All this is doing is hiding rows. So you can see it goes 1, 2, 3, 22. And if you show them all, the 22nd row is the grand total. So it just hides rows for you. So that is, in a nutshell, the range and the table information. But I think there's just one more thing I want to show you. If we convert this back to a table again, first of all, it puts in this information again, and this is the table. Now, one thing you can do with this is give this table a name. So you can see the table name here says table 3, because I've been messing around with this and done it 2 or 3 times. You can just call this the nuts and bolts, or the nuts table, because it's nuts. So now you can see that whenever you click in it, it just tells you the name of the table is written there, and you can use that later on. I just wanted to show you the freeze panes function. You might have seen on spreadsheets how pieces of information can stay still and everything sort of slides underneath it when the mouse is rolled. For example, here we can scroll down, and if we were looking here, we wouldn't know necessarily, except because this is a table, it puts the information here. But if it wasn't a table, we wouldn't know what these headings were. So I can show you that quite simply by going back to design and converting this to a range. Again, yes, we do. And now if I scroll, you can see that it doesn't show the headings anymore. So that can be problematic. So if we wanted, for example, this column with the dates in to remain fixed, and everything above the information, so the headings and the nuts and bolts sales company to remain fixed, we can do this quite easily. If we click in the cell that is directly underneath the row that you want to stay still, and directly to the right of the column you want to stay still, so you click here, everything in this column is going to not move when the scrolling takes place, and everything above this, including this row and above, stays still as well. You just go to view, okay, and freeze panes is here under window. You pull that down and you just click on freeze panes, okay, and there it puts the lines in, and that shows you what's going to happen. So now when we scroll, you can see that the headings remain there, and if we scroll horizontally, you see the date remains in place as well. Okay, so that's a very handy thing to have, because if you haven't got an Excel table with your information, you don't have this displayed all the time, and this is a way to do it. So that's freezing panes. Under view, freeze panes, and to undo it all, you go back to freeze panes and undo freeze panes, and now it's back to how it was.